Minister Mentor, it's a privilege and an honor to be here with you. What I thought we would do this afternoon is broadly cover perhaps three pastures of discussion in keeping with the overall umbrella theme of this event, which is limits to growth. The three pastures that we thought would be very interesting for us were, number one, the individual drivers of growth, namely leadership and leaders. The second, the institutional underpinnings of growth, institutions that are necessary for growth. And the third, the broad geopolitics of the region. The way in which we'll conduct this is I'll ask a couple of questions and then perhaps throw it open for comments from the audience. Let's start with leadership, Minister Mentor. You've written in your memoirs in several different places of a very strong sense of responsibility you felt as a leader, not just to the citizens of the nation, but also to your colleagues who you felt had inspired trust in you, placed faith in you. How do leaders develop this sense of responsibility? Where do they internalize it? Can it be taught?
I cannot say what drives other people. I don't know their histories, their personalities, their characteristics, but in my case, and in the case of my close colleagues and myself, we were thrown up as a result of wars and revolutions. I mean, we didn't go into politics. Wars and revolutions threw up a generation that was ready for change. So it was in that milieu that we were thrown into politics. Either we could mobilize and take over, or the communists would mobilize and take over. I mean, that the British were on the way out was quite clear to us, and in fact quite clear to everybody else. They couldn't hold the place. How do you make this place live?
Yep.
It's been the capital of the British Empire in this part of the world. From here, the governor governed Malaya, Sabah, North Borneo, Sarawak, Brunei, Cocos Islands, Christmas Islands. Then you're on your own, and you got to be responsible for 2 million people at that time. You either do it or die. And we just had to do it. That's that. So I don't know what happened to other people. I mean, when you go into politics in that situation, it's not a vocation. It's a crusade.
Sorry.
So the kind of struggles and battles that my colleagues and I went through, the weak ones, the ones who flinched, dropped out, and the ones who stayed behind and fought it out, we forged a bond that you get between platoon comrades, buddies, who've gone into battle, survived, and with heavy casualties. They trust each other, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they stay together. That's how it happened. I don't know how other cabinets are formed, so I read about Prime Minister Tony Blair and now Prime Minister Gordon Brown. And I thought to myself, what a different set of background that threw up that kind of leadership. I mean, there it is a question of, I suppose, some political conviction, but at the same time, personal drives, or whatever. I can't explain it.
That's very fair, Minister Mentor. Let me fast forward to today. There are several centers of power, one of them the United States, seems to be not as concerned with this part of the world as it could have been. Is that good for the region? Is that bad for the region? Is that good for the United States? What is your take on that?
No, I don't think they're not concerned. They are concerned. The problem with the American politics and Washingtonian attention span is that it is focused on the immediate and the results of the either midterm or full-term elections. At the moment, it's concentrated on Iraq, Iran, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, North Korea, and that's sucking away a lot of energy and resources at the top. But I think at lower levels, they know that great tectonic plates have moved in this region. And in 20 years, they're going to face a very different Asia and deal with a different set of Asian powers. When I say Asian powers, I mean not military powers, but economic powers in a different way. And it's a secular trend which I believe is not stoppable. And I think they understand that. And in fact, I just spent 1 hour with a group of Washington, I don't know how I would classify them. They're aides to the two candidates. And they are very focused on Asia, on China, India, Japan, ASEAN, because they are aware that the trends show in 10, 20 years, they'll have a China whose GDP will be maybe as big as Japan, if not maybe more. India not far behind, maybe 50, 60% of that. And you're dealing with a different set of factors in the power equation. So all the questions they tossed at me were related to the kind of scenarios they want to frame or imagine in 15, 20 years. So they are focused on it. But immediate attention of the people at the top, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, congressional leaders and candidates, is on the immediate, what wins votes, what the media is interested in. So I don't agree with you that they don't know what's happening. They do know. What they are unable to do is to devote enough intellectual capital to think through what the options are. And they asked me, is China a friend or a foe? I said, neither at the moment. And it's really up to you and how you deal with them that will decide whether they are friends or foes. I told them that in 20 years they're going to meet a different set of leaders. The present leaders are part of the tail end of the Soviet era products. I mean, Hu Jintao, Wen Xiaopao. Their first foreign language is Russian. If you meet the young leaders at the level of city mayors, their first foreign language is English. In 20 years, you're going to meet, assuming the structure remains more or less the same, president, premier, state ministers, Politburo members, who are completely at home, will understand exactly what you say, will still negotiate with you in Chinese, but will sit down and have coffee with you or a meal with you and speak in fluent English. They probably have MBAs or PhDs from British or European or American universities. And that will be a very different challenge
Thank you. Maybe I'll open the floor to questions from the floor. We have several questions right away. Let me take this gentleman over here.
Minister Mentor, I'm George Yun from Hong Kong. I'm independent director of ICBC Asia, which is the international arm of the largest bank of China, ICBC. My good friend, Professor Tom Plate of UCLA, have recently interviewed you, and they have written me something like that. Say, if Americans have taken heed of your views, the American life will be much better. The other thing is that this afternoon, people talk about Chinese leadership. People talk about how Chinese leader working towards something like a Singaporean type of government for the country. You are called Minister Mentor.
Who suggested that?
Somebody in the panel.
Somebody in the panel. Anonymous.
You're called Minister Mentor. I'd like to see that whether you can play the role of Minister Mentor for Singapore and beyond, and how you play it.
Let me tell you how the nomenclatura came about. When my son became Prime Minister, I either had to leave the cabinet or he made quite sure that I'm not deciding policy. So I was moved from senior minister, which I was for 14 years with Goh Chok Tong as Prime Minister, and he kept me as a supernumerary minister as mentor. In other words, I cannot give any direction to any ministry or to any minister. I can only mentor them. They are just using me as a data bank. I've got data stored from 50 years of political activity. I would shudder at the prospect of being a mentor to any other government anywhere in the world. I don't know the background, I don't know how the people are, I don't know how it works. To be a leader of any country, you have to understand the people. You've got to be part of them. You've got to instinctively know that this will go down, this will not. And if I may say this with a certain humility, one of the reasons why your previous chief executive, C.H. Tung, had so much troubles was because running a shipping company is different from running a country. He has to have the feel of the people. And that was the... So I would be very chary of giving him any mentoring. No, it can't be done.
Minister Mentor, John Burton from the Financial Times. You have said that...
Are you
What?
in INSEAD?
What?
Are you a member of INSEAD?
No, but I'm a participant.
I'm just curious.
No, but I'm a participant.
You're asking me this as a journalist.
I live in Financial Times, that's right. You have said that social cohesion is one of the reasons for Singapore's success. On the other hand, there is a view that Singapore has become a conformist society. I mean, I was talking to a businessman today who said the workers here are well educated, but at the same time they show a lack of initiative and maybe they have a fear of speaking up. Now, Singapore does want to become a knowledge society, And to do that, you do need people who need to think out of the box and to challenge the system. Do you think that this is a serious issue for Singapore? And does it pose a threat or a limit to Singapore's future growth? And what is the solution? And what do you think that other Asian countries face a similar situation?
Well, this is a standard Western correspondent viewpoint. If we cannot think out of the box, do you think you would be here, sent by the Financial Times to throw darts at us from time to time? And INSEAD would be here, and we could change year by year in the way we have. There's an article in The Economist, which has just come out. Somebody sent it to me on the internet, email, which rates education throughout the world. Why some countries succeed, why some countries don't. And we are amongst the top 5 in the world that succeed. Finland is at the very top. I think a country that can do that must know what it's doing. I suggest it's not unequal to the intellectual capabilities of the Financial Times. Economists have some good writers. And they wrote up this article based on a McKinsey report that studied the education system of many countries. And the conclusion they came to is not whether your classes are big or small, whether you have tests or you don't have tests, but what is the quality of your teachers, and how quickly you put things right when it goes wrong. And how do you get good quality teachers? And they did an analysis, and in Korea, the primary school teachers are taken from the top 5 of undergraduates after they get their degree. They say in Singapore, we take them from the top 30, and so on. Now, to be able to do that, you must be able to think for yourself, because the British didn't leave us with the system. And it's not me or the Minister for Education. We have people who have gone around the world studying all education systems, including those in Britain. Your public schools or your private schools, whichever way you like to call them, your county schools, your grammar schools, etc. We have studied the American system. We have studied the Japanese. We have studied the Germans. And from all the data we have collected and learned from them, we have crafted a system, modeled a system that will suit us. I think if the Financial Times does worry about us and sincerely takes an interest in our future, I suggest read that report, get hold of the full McKinsey report, visit our universities and find out how it is that in the space of the last NTU, Nanyang Technological University, it's just about 81, we switched it from Chinese to English, merging it with National University of Singapore and then hiving it back off. Today is rated amongst the top 50 universities in the world. Something must be doing right. Or maybe you don't believe in these ratings. But I do not believe you can stereotype us that way. If we are stupid, we wouldn't be here.
Let's talk about institutions for a moment, Minister Mentor. We're here, as you correctly said, in large part because of some excellent conversations which we had with Singaporean institutions as well, such as the EDB and so on. What role do you see institutions like ours, like INSEAD, playing in the social fabric of Singapore, of the region? What are we doing right and what can we do more of?
Well, first, institutions in general. If you don't institutionalize a system that works and then regularly improve on it, then you lose what you have done well. And that was one of the reasons why I think in ancient China, many of the accumulated knowledge of physicians or masseurs or whatever died with them. They never published. They only transmitted their knowledge to their immediate disciples, or preferably their offspring. In the West, you have publication of discoveries, exchanges, and it's institutionalized. The knowledge is accumulated, improved upon, critiqued, and so you always climb up on somebody's shoulders. The Chinese are beginning to learn that. But I'll tell you how difficult it is for them. And one of the reasons why we are improving over the years is because whether it's education, whether it's defense, finance, or whatever, we are learning from all over the world because we don't believe in reinventing the wheel. And the knowledge is accumulated, and we have a civil service college, and now the LKY School of Public Policy, where case studies are done, critiqued, and so you're building up institutions, institutionalized knowledge that will improve successive generations who come along and stand on the shoulders of those who've been before them. Now, INSEAD obviously has learned many things in the course of the last, when were you in Fontainebleau, 1950s, 60s?
1957, 58.
57. That's a good 50 years. You've learned much. It's surely a great improvement on 57. You've been here 7 years. You are not as ignorant as when you came here 7 years ago. But the point is, if you just leave it reposited in here, then it's lost when the man is gone. But if you have it documented, discussed, crystallized, then your successor builds on that. That's institutionalization. I think one of the problems, what we try to do here, one reason why Singapore has done reasonably well is because we've had no learning from scratch to be a minister, or to be prime minister. Goh Chok Tong worked as a minister for 76. He took over in 1990. Good 20 years. Learning on the job, knows what it's all about, was deputy prime minister for 7, 8 years, took over, no problems. The present prime minister, my son, started in 1984, that's 23 years ago, was deputy prime minister for 14 years. He knows exactly what has to be done, watching the prime minister do it and helping him do it. No crashing of gears. One of the problems of the revolving door governments is every few years, you start the learning curve from zero. And that's the problem.
I'm going to take the gentleman at the back over there.
My name is R.K. Mishra. I'm entrepreneur, investor now, and I retired at 40 to become a politician.
Where are you from?
India, Bangalore. And as of yesterday, Times of India has chosen me among 8 leaders in India from around 100,000 people. Now, I have to think of a vision for India 20 years hence. I know
What party are you from?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I have not decided which party. Now, I'm here. Actually, I took a flight last night because I knew that you are going to speak here. And I'm so glad that I was allowed to, put my question. In a chaotic democracy, which India is, you have revolving door politicians who have to learn from scratch, if at all they want to learn. You have dynastic politics. We don't have liberty or other opportunity to have leaders who train 20 years. Now, what do you think? I think our next generation will be different. And we are all successful entrepreneurs, individuals, and we want to change the nation. What will be your advice to people like us who really have given up our flourishing career to do something for the country?
I think you have a very formidable mountain to climb. You haven't got a party. In India, Karnataka, you've got Congress and the opposition, right? 3, well, all right. Well, I would carefully study what the odds are. And you must be prepared for a very long and rough ride. Because there's no guarantee that the Congress party in the coalition can win the next election. So you might join the wrong party, be out for the next 5 years. I do not recommend that you start a party. In a country like India, you have dynastic politics because of the size of the country. The most important thing in the one-man, one-vote system is that people recognize your name. So if you are a Gandhi or a Nehru, that's an enormous advantage. It gave the Congress party nearly 30 years. And after Mrs. Gandhi died, Rajiv came in. Now you have Rahul Gandhi, the grandson of Mrs. Gandhi. Now I think if you contest against Rahul Gandhi, whatever your entrepreneurial skills, when it comes to the hustings, just name recognition. I mean, you are out. So, if I were an Indian and I were an entrepreneur, I think I will try and be a Tata or a Birla or an Infosys. Because I met your Infosys chairman in Bangalore. I spent an hour talking with him. I said, you should bring those skills into government. Be a minister. Change that ministry the way you've changed this. He laughed at me. He didn't think it was doable. He's reached the apex. And he's dealt with the government. He knows. And this is a gargantuan bureaucracy that moves in a very measured, elephantine way. So, Infosys is agile, quick, fast-footed. So, I think thinking it over, it would have been quite a sacrifice for him. But I was thinking to myself, only India had such ministers and changed the ministries, you'd be making the kind of progress that you deserve.
One more question, if I may.
From you or from the audience?
From me, to close, to bring this discussion to a close. Lots of countries, small like Singapore, Abu Dhabi and Dubai, to name just a couple, are trying to emulate Singapore's success, trying to make similar sorts of investments in similar sorts of areas. What do you see as the keys to Singapore's sustained success? Is this a zero-sum game, or is there place for everybody?
No, it's not a zero-sum game. It's a win-win game. Dubai is now a big hub, an aviation hub. We're happy to welcome them. We are now using Dubai as one of our hubs to go to Moscow. Not enough passengers yet to Moscow direct. And they come here through, and it's a competition, and the aviation pie will grow. I mean, they will grow on a different model from us. Their indigenous population is just about 100,000 plus. And the foreign population is 1.5 million. We have but they have the resources of the Gulf oil and Gulf money. And Iranians too. I mean, the Iranians tell us that they're putting a lot of business into Dubai. And they have used it wisely and efficiently, hired best world-class executives to run their airlines, to run their ports. They outbid us for several of the ports. We decided, no, that's a bit on the high side, but they can afford it, we can't. So let them have it. We don't compete. We have a different algorithm. We can't be like them because we have no oil money. And we have a population of 3.4 million out of the 4.6, the rest being foreigners working here or studying here. I think sustainability for us will be slightly easier because, as I said, institutionalization is easier. We've got a homogeneous core in every management that can self-renew, and we've got a lot of foreigners joining us, people from India, China, Hong Kong, incorporate. But the spine is a Singapore spine. In Dubai, the ruler is a very able man, and so are his associates. So you got the brains as Dubai, but the vertebra has a mix of I think one of the advertisements, one of these Gulf airlines is, we have 50 nations working for us on board, which is quite a feat to meld them into a team. But to have a certain culture built up, that's not easy. So I think they have a different set of strengths. We have a completely different limited resources, but more indigenous strength. And we'll have to see which model is more sustainable. I say that with some reservation because I think if they can keep on getting high quality management, they can do it. And they've got the resources to pay for that.
Minister Mentor, thank you very much for your time. It's been a signal honor. Thank you very much.